This is Susan Bassey, and there is no doubt that over the last 2 weeks all of our lives have changed, likely forever. There is fear and uncertainty. There is a lack of trust in our local government, our mainstream media, and even on social media. We're not quite certain who we can rely on to give us the facts. We worry about our children and our health insurance. We worry about health and safety of our families and whether or not we will have jobs, or if the shuttering of our restaurants and our businesses will change the course of our finances forever. Large tech companies that have become staples in our lives are shuttered across Silicon Valley, and there is no doubt that all of our work related to First Amendment issues appear to be a distant memory.
And the police department says it will be going around and reminding businesses. If the businesses then continue to stay open, that's when the sanctions will be kicking in. Sanctions such as, in fact, here comes a patrol car right now. This may be one of the cars that we're talking about, just driving around the city, making sure that the businesses are closed. Now, the sanctions that businesses could receive could be things like health department violations, which could be very difficult to clear up, as well as citations, and there could be other sanctions as well. Reporting live in San Jose, Len Ramirez, KPIX.
Hi there. I'm out filming who's open and what people can get. So I know a lot of people are going to be very grateful to you today. Okay, I just saw the sign on the door and I saw somebody come out, and I've had people complain that they knew people from their family that were celebrity football players and police officers were still working out here when the gym was closed in.
No, we're closed. I'm just hanging out here.
Okay, just checking.
You're welcome.
I promised I would check.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. No
Bye-bye.
problem.
And perhaps it took a global pandemic to remind us about what was important in our communities, because whether we are worried about the businesses that are shuttered and how we will support our families, or the price of gasoline, and the availability of food, and our ability to grow our own gardens and tend to our own homes, we have all forgotten to hold our local government accountable for the tax dollars they've received over the last 20 years, and how they've spent those dollars, and how they've given our communities the care and attention that we all deserved.
I want to get a quick snippet. You guys are with the union, and can you tell me who you work for?
Valley Med.
Social services.
Facilities and Fleet. Facilities and Fleet.
Health and hospital.
And you came here today because,
For SIU 521 employees.
and you're supporting what happened related to the sheriff's department where Jeff Smith was.
Disrespectful.
Disrespectful.
Disrespectful and disregard for anybody's welfare and well-being.
And if I were to ask you if you had a message to give Jeff Smith, what would you say?
Do the right thing.
Respect our contract.
Stop.
Do the right
Respect
thing.
people's and families' lives.
Ms. Bassey, good morning.
Good morning and happy 2019. I just want to let you know that I'm renewing my commitment to watchdogging our courts and our lawyers, private and governmental lawyers in our county. First of all, I want to say that when you're in the hospital and Mike, your back's hurting you, you're going to need these people, these nurses, the ones that you're not taking care of, the ones that you're not listening to. You're not going to need a lawyer.
And I guess my biggest concern in the COVID-19 outbreak is the lack of public trust in politicians, in public agencies, law enforcement officers, and in mainstream media. And mainstream media has been very critical of people who attempt to do reporting on social media. But in the end, we're all in this together, and we're going to need transparency and accountability more than ever. And as mainstream media reporters are now working from home and taking care of their children, I realize that I have been working from home and taking care of my children for over 20 years, and I've developed a powerful network of moms who appear to be more reliable than any mainstream media or social media sources that I have. We check in on our children to find out what they believe in and what they're doing. We talk about washing our groceries when we bring it home from the grocery store so that we don't infect our families. And we know that because of the pandemic, we're probably using far too much plastic, and that could be a problem for the environment. We may not eat the healthiest of choices, but we eat what's available in the grocery store. We cook our vegetables to make sure that we're not infecting our families, and we use the bread that's available on the shelves. And long before mainstream media started reporting on the crisis inside our hospitals, the nurses I know who are moms were reporting how they were concerned not only for their patients, but for their own families and the fact that they might be bringing the virus home to them. And universally, we have a shared concern for our children, not just for their health and safety during the pandemic, but for their future. And that future relies on a trust in the grown-ups who are in charge. And when that trust wavers and children don't trust their parents, the media, or their government, that can be one of the greatest threats of all to our democracy.
Do you mind if I interview Elevator and you guys? I'd like to show the difference. So this is my signature, the elevator interview. And I'm going to show the difference between your attorney, Michael Lazarin's attorney, Carlton Briggs, who argued this morning. And he argued against the Potts attorney. What is his name?
Robert Freitas.
And as California entered its third week of lockdown due to the global pandemic, and reporters across the country were worrying about how they would report on important stories. With social distancing and other orders in place, we worried about our work related to California's criminal and family courts, and our work related to the First Amendment issues, including our work on this important case involving Michael Lazarin and the Potts. And then out of the blue, the 6th District Court of Appeal issued a decision in this case, and Michael Lazarin finally won, after 19 years of fighting for his right to speak about his own biological child, Audrey Pott, who committed suicide back in 2012, and whom Lisa, Larry, and Sheila Pott had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in attorney's fees trying to silence Michael Lazarin and prevent him from speaking about her, his own daughter.
Once again, my name is Michael Lazarin, and I sit here as a father, and I ask everyone here, how many children voices are being not heard? My daughter, Audrey Pott, for national headlines under Mr. Rosen, and he could sit there with his smirk, basically hid domestic violence that was going on in my daughter's home life 6 to 12 months before her suicide.
What would you say to Bob Allard?
Shame on you. Shame on you.
What was Bob Allard's role in all of this?
Cover up. Greed. The man called me a sperm donor. I'm her dad. I'm not a sperm donor. I'm her dad. He has children. How'd you feel if you were called a sperm donor?
Your message to these family law and civil attorneys that did this. The family court was particularly brutal to you. What would you say to Judge Arend?
Wow. Same as Allard. Shame on you. You know, was an innocent child that should have never been abused by the system. Audrey should have never been exploited in the system. No child deserves that.
Do you think the district attorney used her case to get reelected in 2014?
Absolutely.
You know Jeff Rosen has 2 daughters. What would you say to him?
Wow. You can never hide the truth.
And so while it's only natural that we would be fearful and feel uncertain based on the global pandemic, it's more important than ever to have transparency and accountability in our local governments. And it's also more important than ever to exercise our First Amendment rights and to maintain our children's trust in that First Amendment. And I'm going to ask all of you to share this video and to stick with me as we tell the rest of this story.
You can never hide the truth.